And we are live. Welcome, mystery and thriller fans. I'm your on-air host, Sara DiVello, and I am thrilled, pun intended, to be hosting the incredible Mary Kubica today, who's here to dish all the behind-the-scenes dirt on local woman missing. Mary, welcome. Tell us about this fabulous book.
Thank you so much for having me here today, Sarah. I've been so looking forward to this. Local Woman Missing it's out today, and it's set in the suburbs of Chicago, where over the course of just a couple weeks, 2 women and a young girl go missing. And there's an investigation into their disappearances, and everybody wants to know if they're related or if these are isolated incidents. And there's some things, the police find out some clues, some things, but ultimately the cases go cold until 11 years later, when the little girl who was 6, now she's 17 years old, she suddenly returns, and everybody wants to know where she's been all this time and where are the others.
Ooh, well, Mary, you are just keying into all of my favorite things, all the things, mystery, thrillers, cold cases, our fascination with needing to know all the good stuff. And I can't wait to get into every single delicious detail. But first, I just want to welcome everyone who's watching with us on Facebook and YouTube. Welcome, fam. Good to see you. If you've been here before, you know how this works. And if you're new, oh my goodness, welcome. We're so thrilled to have you. Here's how it works. Every Tuesday, I give you 2 featured authors, and you get to ask them anything. This is your show. This is your time. This is a conversation. This is your chance to talk to Mary, to ask her all about this extremely delicious book, to ask her about her writing process, anything that is hanging out in your brain. Just get it going in the comments, and I will get them right over to her. So I know it always takes me a minute. Tell us where you're looking. Tell us where you're listening from today. Gail saying it must be Tuesday. Gail, you know it. Good to have you back. Gail's top community member there. Rose is saying she's so excited to read this book. Rose, you're speaking for all of us.
Rose.
Anissa's giving us the hearts up. Anissa, thank you for those hearts. Welcome back, top community member there. Christina, hey, Books to Grammar Extraordinaire. Good to see you. Welcome. Thanks for joining us today. Anissa is saying cold cases. Yes. Oh my goodness. Why are they so tasty? Leslie's saying, hello, Leslie, welcome back. Good to see you. Anissa saying she loves the cover. Anissa, thank you. You know I have a fascination with covers. I'll say it. I do jump into the book by its cover. So Mary, tell us the story of this cover. Was it number 1? Was it number 101? Give us the inside skinny.
I love that cover. I think it was number 2, which is really awesome. So the first cover that they came up with me, and I have the most phenomenal art department over at Harlequin Books. They have just hit it out of the ballpark with every single one of my covers. I think I might be biased, but so with this one, this was the second cover. The first cover that they showed me, I love too. It was very reminiscent of my last book cover, The Other Misses, slightly different coloration, and instead of a house, there were trees on there, but it was very similar to The Other Misses, and I was all on board with it. And then I think somebody, they just kind of started playing around with some other ideas just to see, and this cover, was born. And the minute I laid eyes on it, I was like, I liked the last one, but I love this one. It was just so perfect. And, the sky, the trees, it's so ominous. And it speaks so much to the book because, trees do play a part in the book, but it's spring in Chicago when this book takes place, and it rains a lot. There are a lot of storms, there are tornado warnings. And so I just feel like it goes so well with the book. And then that pink font just pops. I mean, it was
neat. There it is. That pink font just pops. I mean, it is ominous. The clouds, the dark, the black, the trees. I mean, I'm getting nervous just looking at it. I know I'm in for a dark and twisty, so said the incredible Riley Sager, a dark and twisty ride. Samantha Varant, one of our Blaze featured authors, bonjour, joining us from France, I believe. Samantha, great to have you here. She said said this cover is amazing. She can't wait to get her hands on it. Samantha, I totally agree. Deborah, welcome. She's saying it's a fabulous cover. I totally agree. How much do we love this cover? I mean, it's so cool for all of those reasons. So thanks everybody for chiming in. Leslie's telling us she's watching from Canada. So we literally have an international audience here today. Welcome everybody. Anissa's watching from South Carolina. Welcome, welcome. Ooh, Rose has got a good question. Mary, how do you decide your setting? So you're a Chicago girl. You're based in Chicago yourself, and this book is set in Chicago. Tell us why, tell us how, tell us why you choose those.
Yeah, so the vast majority of my books have been set in Chicago or the suburbs. I think The Other Misses, my last novel, was the only one that was set entirely outside of Chicago. That one was in Maine. And with this book, I wanted a suburban setting. And I never referred to the actual suburb in this novel, but it's very much like my own. And, there's a lot of comfort in writing that way, just because I don't have to like transport myself. I don't have to do extensive research to describe the setting. I just think about places that I've been, or I go there, and there's nothing like, standing there and just seeing your whole setting and being able to describe it that way. So I wanted to set this one here in the suburbs, and it involves this community. And I think that there's this feeling that the suburbs are pretty safe, that they're free from the crime that might be more rampant in the cities. And, so that's not always the case. And so this is this like idyllic, quaint little neighborhood, upscale. And, then as the story progresses, everything gets turned on end, and, people begin to wonder who they can trust, and can they trust those people closest to them.
Ooh, well, based on what's going on in this book, I'm nervous to come to your suburb, Mary. I'm nervous, but I'm intrigued because there is all sorts of, it opens with a rather saucy scene of a woman sneaking off for a rendezvous, a late night rendezvous with a man whose name she's not even sure she knows. So I am intrigued to head to Chicago. Great question. Thanks, Rose. And thanks, Mary, for that cool answer. Rose is saying she also always wonders how the spouses/partners of thriller authors sleeping at night, knowing the way the author's mind works. Rose, is your spouse or partner getting REM 5 sleep, or sleeping with one eye open?
He gets asked all the time, do you sleep with one eye open and things like that. And he's a good sport about it, but it's fun because I'm like a nice, normal person, I swear. So I get asked a lot, how do you write such dark, crazy stuff? And I think that that's the fun of it, is just like stepping totally outside my norm, totally outside my comfort zone, and just looking at the dark side of people.
Very interesting. Well, I think if you say you're heading out for a 10 p.m. run, maybe your husband wants to open one eye a little, wants to open a little more. I love that. Oh, cool. Samantha's saying we already answered her next question. She is a former Chi-Town girl. Is it Chi-Town or Chi-Town?
Chi-Town. And yes, go Cubs.
Go Cubs. Yay. Oh, Annissa with the craft question. I love it, Annissa. Do you lead your characters, or do they lead you? Oh, I love that question. Mary, give us the inside scoop.
That is such a good question. So early on, maybe I lead them. I kind of get them going on the page, and at the same time, I'm sort of getting to know them and building that relationship with them. But as soon as, I don't know, there comes a point in the writing process where those characters take over, and I don't know what they're going to do, what decisions they're going to make, where the story is going to go. A lot of times I don't know what my twists are going to be in the novel, and I have to wait to discover who my characters are, and then kind of figure out how the story is going to evolve over time. And I'm not a plotter. So, I just, turn on the laptop and I start writing, and I have no idea what's going to transpire that day. And which is one of it can be terrifying sometimes not knowing where I'm going, but it's also one of the most exciting parts of writing, is just figuring it out organically.
I love that. Now, when you say you turn on your computer and you see where the characters go, so let's just start from the beginning. At the opening scene, a wife says she's going out for a jog at 10 p.m. A little suspicious, but she's also stuck at home with a baby all day and says that's the first time she can get out of the house. Was that the first scene that came to you? And did you write the book from there? Did you add it in later? I mean, what was the seed of that scene?
Yeah, so that scene was actually the very last thing that I wrote about this book.
What? Your first scene was your last scene? How's that work?
So the second chapter is kind of a scene where a girl's in captivity. And that was initially how I had started the book. And it can be a little heavy, it can be a little dark. And the more I wrote the book and kind of got to know the story and the characters, I thought, I don't know that I want to start in this really dark, heavy place. I want to start somewhere that's a little bit more juicy, a little bit more intriguing. But this was, after the book was done, and then I backtracked, and it was kind of great then because I knew the story. I knew where it was going to go. I knew my twist. So I was able to kind of play on that a little bit and add this chapter to hopefully hook the reader right there from the beginning.
Well, you hooked me, girl. So it's working. Let's talk about the captivity scene. So I was not expecting that. Oh my God. One of my worst nightmares, to be trapped somewhere, to be, a prisoner, to be to be kidnapped and held in captivity. Oh my God, who can relate? Give me some comments if you share this fear, or tell me, Sara, you're crazy. You're alone. But Mary, what made you want to write that story, and what was your research like?
Yeah, so when I started this book, I always start my books with like this tiny seed of an idea that then grows and grows and grows as I write. And with this book, I started thinking about when people go missing and they come home, assuming they come home, the story kind of ends there. We don't really hear what it's like when they get back together with their families and what it's like to sort of like reintegrate into society and that kind of thing. So that was what really initiated this story for me. So to start this story, I wanted to take this girl who's in captivity and does escape that situation and is able to go back home. And so that was kind of the inspiration for the story. And I started with her, and it's dark. And, I didn't do a lot of research really. I did more research into emotionally and physically what it would have been like when she did escape. She was malnourished. She was terrified. She had been kept in the dark. So she had some issues with her eyes, things like that. But just kind of from a practical standpoint, I put myself, mentally, I put myself in this dark, locked basement and, with very little human interaction, and, kind of thought, how terrifying would that be? What would it be like? What would I do to pass the time? How would I maybe try to escape? What would the walls feel like? It would be cold. It would be damp. You're in a basement, and just really try to make that, just a really, I don't know. I just wanted the reader to really feel that. And it goes to a very dark place. I feel like without getting too dark, but ultimately, like I said, this girl does escape captivity and return home. So I also felt like it offers a little bit of hope there at the ends.
Yeah. I mean, I'm a true crime junkie. I'm fascinated by these stories of captivity. That guy in Ohio who was holding 3 women prisoner for like 10 years or 15 years, Elizabeth Smart, of course, it makes you wonder, because everyone always says, oh, I never thought it would have been that guy. I walk past his house every day. It makes me wonder how many, captive people I'm walking past every day, because it's such a crazy thought.
Right. It absolutely is. And then the people that do escape, I mean, how do you ever go back to living, a normal life? I mean, how can you learn to trust ever another person again, or to just live without this constant sense of fear? I have no idea.
Exactly. This is a very, very, very dark, very topic. I just want to make sure I understand. Did you go in the basement metaphorically, or did you get down in that basement, Mary?
I did metaphorically.
Okay. Jeffrey Deaver came on the show, and he told us that he goes into a dark room. He turns off all the lights. He gets light blocking curtains. He writes in complete and utter blackness, tactile writing. That's how he actually writes. So he plots sometimes 150 pages, but then when it's actually time to write the story, he goes into that actual basement-like structure. It's not a basement, but it's his, his writing room, but he writes in complete darkness, tactile.
Yeah.
So I just was wondering, I needed to know. I love that. And for such a dark topic, Kathleen is saying Mary is the nicest person. So she's right and dark, but she is nice, ladies and gentlemen. This is so good. Oh, Rose is saying she agrees. She tells her husband that she writes thrillers. That kind of thing won't happen in real life to her. Exactly.
Yeah, I think that's, we're all so fascinated with, true crime is just hugely popular these days, on Netflix or whatever, and everybody loves their suspense novels. And I think that's what it is. We're so fascinated with them, but they're happening to other people. They're not happening to us. So they're fun to read for that reason.
Exactly. They are so fascinating. And I think that we have a sort of national or perhaps international obsession with solving it, with getting to closure, of needing to know. I know I do. I can't even let a little tiny argument with my husband go. We've got to reach resolution.
Right. Actually, I loved Unsolved Mysteries on Netflix, but I had to stop watching it because I was so frustrated at the end of every episode not knowing.
Exactly. Samantha's chiming in. She says she loves that. Samantha, you're one of us, which you already knew. This is fantastic. Oh, Carmen saying, even if I didn't love your writing, I would want to support your career because you're such a lovely person. Oh my God, Carmen, that might be the nicest thing ever.
Thank you so much, Carmen.
Fortunately, it sounds like you do like Mary's books. Carmen, which is your favorite book Mary's written so far? Let us know in the comments. Patricia, welcome. She says, good to have you back, top community member there. She says, you are not alone, LOL. Exactly, because we're all so fascinated by all of these themes. Thank you, Patricia, for that. Making sure I didn't miss anybody's comments about anything. Just scrolling down here. Oh, Patricia's adding Mindhunter on Netflix was excellent too. Okay, I don't know that one. So, and Mary, which one were you watching that you couldn't finish? I missed it.
I was watching Unsolved Mysteries. So
yeah, me too.
Yeah. But I'm going to have to check out Mindhunter. I haven't seen that. So that's next on my list, I think.
I've been watching, I just finished watching the new Harlan Coben one, which was very tasty. Now I'm watching the previous one, watching Safe. And I also watched Lupin, the Arsène Lupin, which was so good. Oh my gosh, I'm like a Netflix mystery junkie. Samantha saying The Serpent. Fabulous. Carmen saying her favorite is Pretty Baby. Well, we're going to see if Local Woman Missing gives Pretty Baby a run for your money there, Carmen. Let us know. Come back after you read it and let us know. Mary, I got to know, how long did it take you to write this book? Soup to nuts, start to finish, cradle to the grave. Yeah. Walk us through that process.
Yeah, absolutely. So this book was just, I sometimes think of them like children. Some are really well behaved and some are really naughty. As I'm trying to. And Local Woman Missing was so well behaved. It was one of those where I think it has something to do with how I connect to my characters. If I connect pretty quickly, then the writing just flows. Like I feel like I know what they should be doing and saying, and I can figure out what's going to happen a little bit more quickly that way. When I don't have that same connection, or it just takes longer to find that connection with my characters, then it is like an uphill slog a little bit until I can get that connection. But with Local Woman Missing, I just felt it right away for all the narrators. I have a good number of narrators in this book, and I felt that connection right away for all of them. So from the time I started until the time I was done, it was, I don't remember exactly, but at most it was a year, and that includes revision. So I think that it was one of the faster books that I've written, and the revisions were pretty light, I have to say, on this book comparatively to like some of my others. With my last book, The Other Misses, I wrote an entire character on the revision end. So in comparison, Local Woman Missing was pretty easy when it came to revisions.
Wow. Okay. Now, when you play with multiple points of view, but also you're jumping around in time, was that extremely hard to write? Both aspects of that. Can you walk us through both the multiple points of view and the time travel?
Yeah, absolutely. So, and the multiple points of view are something that I do for all of my books. And then the change in time, like maybe 50% of my books have like a different time period in them. So I have kind of done this before. And actually when I write it, I don't write it the same, I don't write it like you would read it. Instead, I actually take one narrator at a time. With this book, I wrote Delilah first, and then I believe I wrote Kate, Meredith, Leo. So after I finished Delilah, then I went to the narrator of Kate. And Kate is a woman, it's, her storyline takes place 11 years in the past. And I wrote her entire narrative from beginning to end. And then I jumped back and picked up with another narrator, Meredith. She's also in the past. And I wrote her whole narrative. And then I wrote Leo, and he's in the present. So that way I can just focus. It sounds crazy, but I think that it's actually simplifying the process, because I can just focus on one narrator, keeping their voice totally authentic. And also I'm not worried about that jump in time at that point. I'm just focusing on one time period for each character. So I do that. And then literally, I go to like the FedEx store and I print off my manuscript, and I have, my Kate pile and my Meredith pile. And I just start shuffling the chapters together like a deck of cards. Like inevitably I have to move things, something is being revealed too early, or, the clues aren't all lining up. So it sometimes requires some revisions at the end to just make sure everything lines up. But it's a really cool process then, because usually I've read it and kind of edited it just one narrator at a time. So go back and to take these little sections and read it as an entire book is for the first time is just a really cool experience.
Oh my God, that's so cool. Wow. So I'm trying to wrap it around that. So you, without plotting, just sit down and see where the story goes every day for one character from the start to the finish, just that one person, then the next, start to finish, just that one person, then the next. Then when you're all done, you go to FedEx, you print them out, then you come home and then you shuffle them together like a deck. Wow. Does that require a lot of rewriting? Because is it like, oh wait, I already said that for Meredith. Oh, Kate needs to do that after. How does that?
What usually helps is that as I'm writing the first narrator, I'm starting to figure out a lot about the story. I'm starting to kind of figure out what my twist is going to be and how is this person's life going to intersect with that person's life. And so I'm starting to kind of build that story so that the second and the third narrators are a lot easier just because I've kind of laid that groundwork for them. So as I'm writing that next narrator, then I'm thinking of, things that I've already written and how can I kind of, make these stories go together, and what clue did I drop over there that I can kind of pick up in this storyline to intrigue the reader and things like that. So it does. I know that it sounds messy.
No, it sounds amazing. I'm literally going to get down on the floor and genuflect to your writerly genius, you brilliant woman. How the hell do you keep all that? My brain is hurting. I got to massage it just to like calm it down. That's amazing.
Oh, thank you.
Wow. Okay, cool. All right. So I see more questions just pouring in. I want to make sure I get to all of them because that's what we do here. I want to make sure I did not miss any single one because we're going to, this is your time and I want to make sure you get it, y'all. Okay. So, Annissa is recommending The One on Netflix. Okay. Hadn't heard of that one either. Oh my God. I love this. Thanks for making my list. I'm always wondering what to watch next. So thank you.
Someone was so just telling me about that yesterday.
Oh, Carmen saying, if you haven't watched Mayor of Easttown, you must. I have heard good things about that. Carmen, thank you so much because I haven't done it yet. So this is that little push I needed. Thank you so much. Annissa would like to know, do you leave your characters when you are finished with the book or do they stay with you forever? Oh my God, Annissa, I love that. Do they?
They stay with me. Maybe not to the same extent as when I'm writing the book, but they do stay with me, and I feel like every book has one or two characters that stay with me the most, that I think about for a long time. And, it tends to be, like with Local and Missing, I love them all truly, but they're Delilah and then there's a teenage boy, Leo, that we hear from in this story. And I feel like those are the ones that tug the most in my heartstrings and, stayed with me after I wrote the book. And then there are times that, I'll be writing a book years later and I'll just be having trouble with a character and I'll think like, why couldn't you be well-behaved like Delilah?
Oh my, wait, we're not supposed to compare our children, I heard. I don't know. So Leo and Delilah have stayed with you the most.
They have, yes.
Okay. Very, that is good to know. What about your last book? Who stayed with you the most there?
With the other misses, that's a good question. There's a teenage girl, Imogen, in there, and she, ironically, I referred to the character that got added in at the end, and she's the one. So if anybody read the other misses, Imogen was a very last minute addition, and she's actually kind of a main character. So that was an interesting revision, but I ended up loving her so much, and I loved her being in that book, and the book would have been so different without her. So it needed her. I just didn't know it until the book was done.
So does she pop in and say mean things? Is she like, Mary, work harder, work faster? I love it. Okay, this is so cool. We love these inside insights. Samantha would like to know, do your characters and stories / plots keep you up at night? Yeah. Are you laying there cogitating on it? Are you thinking, go away and leave me alone? Or do you hit REM 5 when your head hits the pillow? Fill us in.
Oh, I wish. I mean, some days, yeah. But no, especially when I'm at a tricky point, if I'm like really struggling with the scene, or if I'm getting to the point where I don't know my twist and I'm starting to panic because I wish I knew my twist, then I do find that, yes, I am sitting there and I'm thinking about it. And it's when I wrote my first book, The Good Girl, I think that was it at its worst, although it ended up being such a blessing that I was like thinking and dreaming about these characters all night, because it turned out that I was able to like fix so many problems at 2 a.m. in my head. I did not get up and actually start typing, but I was able to kind of work things out in my head.
Oh my gosh. Okay. I want to get to this question because this person says they have to leave soon. Hallmark would like to know. She says, I'm a huge fan. I came in a bit late and I may have to leave early too. What time of day do you write? And thank you so much. Yeah. Tell us what's your writer day like? Do you rise with the sun, or are you a night owl? Tell us.
I'm a part of the 5 a.m. Writers Club. So I am up, I would say the crack of dawn, but the sun's not even up when I wake up. So I'm up at 5, get the coffee, and I start writing right away. And I this year's kind of all messed up because of COVID and having kids home doing virtual learning. So usually I would get up, I'd write for a couple of hours, then I'd get the kids off to school and I'd come back to writing. But those, it doesn't matter that I have, when I do have, like 6 hours a day that I can devote to writing. There's nothing that I love more than that like 5 to 7 a.m. writing time. Just, I feel my brain is so fresh. It's like the most fresh that it is at any point of the day. I feel like I'm by far my most creative at that time of day. And there's no distractions. Like, I'm not going to do laundry at 5 a.m. I'm not going to go to the grocery store. There's nothing else to do but write. So I feel like I can really focus.
Okay, I am shell shocked at the idea of a 5 a.m. wake up call. If I'm up at 5, it's because I'm still up. I am a night owl, but I love writing at 2 a.m. for the same reason, because it's quiet and it's still and I'm alone and it's so peaceful and the city's sort of quieted down, and I totally get that solitude. And that's when I feel like I'm at my most creative, is in those moments. Hallmark, great question. Thank you so much. Patricia says, if I may selfishly ask, when you approached agents and with query letters, did you say how dark you write? Because Mary, you write dark. You're real dark. I'm having a difficult time finding agents, dare I say, not afraid of dark stories. Any advice would be very much appreciated. So let's pause there and get your thoughts, Mary.
Yeah, absolutely. So I've had the same agent throughout. So I queried The Good Girl back in like 2012. And I will say, I think I've gotten a little darker from book to book. I don't know. I don't know that The Good Girl, it was dark, don't get me wrong, but I don't know it's as dark as like the last couple books that I've written. So I didn't really allude to the darkness of my stories. I did, like include, some ask, for 50 pages, some ask for 3 chapters or whatever it is that they wanted to read. So I did include, for those that asked for it, a sample of the writing. I will say it took me a long time to find an agent though. And for every author, or for most authors that I've spoken to, they like myself have years worth of rejection stories to share. And so I feel like it's one of those things that you just kind of have to keep with and know that I mean, I hate to say it, but a lot of rejection is part of it. And you just have to kind of keep with it until you find someone who's as passionate about your work as you are. And it took me 2 years, to find an agent for The Good Girl. I queried like 75 plus agents. All of them rejected me. And I only got an agent because one of these women who had previously rejected it, she reached back out to me and asked to represent it. Her situation had changed and she wanted to take it on. So I just keep with it, Patricia. And sometimes it's about timing too. I feel like genre changes. If what you're writing right now people feel is too dark, you don't know that in 6 months or a year that might not be exactly what they're looking for. So
I love, first of all, thank you for your transparency. Thank you for your authenticity. Thank you for sharing that with us, because I feel like these open conversations really help all of us. And I love that one of the agents who at one point said they weren't interested came back and said, now I am. And that has been your agent for all of your books. What an incredible story, and clearly loves and believes in your work. So when someone says now's just not the right time, they actually mean it. And here's the proof. Did she say what had shifted for her, Mary?
At the time, she just wasn't in a position to take on clients. And so and she said, she tells me after the fact, once we started working together, she said how much she actually did love the book at the time, but she just wasn't in a position to represent it. So, and I think, too, just like I noticed so frequently how like what is really popular genre-wise shifts. It's like constantly changing as to what is popular. And, what's popular is what the agents are looking for too then. But give it 6 months or a year, like I said, and you don't know how that's going to totally change. So stick with it. Don't lose hope. And I think that, write for you, write the book that you would want to read. But I'll say too that my books, when I now work with an editor, they do go through a lot of revisions. And sometimes my editor does tell me, okay, you've crossed the line, Mary. You have gone too dark. You gotta pull back a little bit. So I mean, there is a little give and take there too, and just knowing what the reader is gonna like and what might be too much for a reader.
Mary, I gotta know, what was too dark for that editor? I mean, now I'm just wondering, how dark can Mary go? And I'm not sure. I mean, I'm thinking midnight black dark. I mean, how dark was it?
That opening scene where this character Delilah is in captivity, that's it. I pulled back, and I'm glad that I did, because that, she's a girl and she's already in this horrible situation, and it's clear that things are bad to the reader. So I think that there were a couple times that I got maybe a little too graphic. And and with good reason, I'm glad, that I did back up, because I think that the reader gets that same, they can see what's going on. They have that same emotional connection to Delilah without being without crossing a line.
That is, that's such an interesting point from a craft perspective, because, I remember when I worked in the corporate world and I got promoted to being a manager, and they sent me to management training, and the psychologist that they brought in said, listen, you may not be able to give people a raise. You may not be able to get them promoted. But the one thing that human beings seek, all of us seek on our deepest, most visceral level, is to be seen, heard, and understood. And so I recognize this in myself, right? And so I always struggle with how much to tell the reader, because I don't want to bat them over the head with it where they're like, okay, I got it 10 pages ago. But I also don't want to be so obscure that they were like, wait, was there a clue somewhere 300 pages ago that I missed? And so finding that balance, and I know what you're saying about the captivity scene, and you did convey it, but I understand wanting to really get that point across. And so you're really trying to get it right to us. So this is such a fascinating topic. Thank you. Patricia had a two-part question. So the second part of her question was, do you keep a point of view for one character in one chapter?
Yeah. So we only hear from one character per chapter. Yeah, exactly. And almost all of my narrators speak to us in first person. Yeah, exactly. And each one has the narrator's name on there. So I like to do first person, because I feel like it works for me better as a writer because I can just get in that character's shoes and I can kind of speak through them, versus third person to me always, I as the author feel a bit removed, and I feel like I just can't bring the emotion of the story to the reader in the same way. With this book though, I did try with one of the characters, the narrators, Leo, his is in second person, which I had never done before. And I found that I liked it. And, it just worked really well for his character, but also helped his voice to stand out from the others, I thought.
I actually had a question about that because he is male, obviously. I, as a woman, struggle to write men because, like, who the hell knows what those guys are thinking? I mean, what do they think? I'm married to one and I still don't get it. So I was wondering if you made that choice because he was male and you wanted to be a little more distanced from him, or what was the creative decision making behind that Leo second person perspective?
Yeah, it was, so he's a teenager too. He's 15 years old. And so it was less about him being male and more about him being a teenager and not being totally sure if I could get the teenager voice quite right, especially because Delilah is also a teenager and we also heard from Delilah. And I wanted to make sure that these two teenagers, even though their situations, they're so different, but I wanted to make sure that they didn't sound too similar. And Leo ends up in second person, he's speaking to Delilah kind of in his head the whole time,
Yeah.
And so I feel like it becomes kind of a personal story, between Delilah and Leo that like the reader is just sort of witnessing.
Oh, I love that. I love that. And what a brilliant, thoughtful, creative decision to differentiate the two, because I was going to say, well, Delilah's a teenager, but that was your intention, was to make them feel very different. Oh, I love that. That's so cool. Okay. Let's get down to the next questions. Make sure I don't miss anybody's anything. Oh my goodness. I just realized we're also over our time. So we're going to do the lightning round now. Mary, what is one thing that you want people to walk away from this book feeling, experiencing, having learned? What do you want us to leave with?
Yeah, I really want you to connect to the characters. It's a thriller, it's suspenseful, but I love my characters. I always do. And I want the readers to have some sort of emotional connection to, I want you to be scared and like sitting on the edge of your seat while you're reading it, but I want you to have that emotional connection too.
Oh, I love that. I love that. What do you think the secret is to writing characters that people emotionally connect with?
I think just being really authentic. They can't be flat, one-dimensional characters. They have to be multidimensional, and they have to have flaws, because everybody does. Nobody's perfect, and nobody's all bad. You have to make these characters flaws. I give them like reasons for the things they do. They might make terrible decisions, but why?
Ooh. Oh, that's interesting. Yes, because sometimes, not with your books, but sometimes with other books, I think to myself, what are you doing? What are you doing? Don't go down into the basement. Don't go too close to the kidnap mobile. And so that's an interesting way to think of it. They may make bad decisions, but why? Oh my gosh. Mary, what's one thing that I haven't asked that you would like to share with us?
Oh gosh, that's a good question. I don't know. I feel, Sarah, like you really did cover everything about this book and writing. I feel like you got it.
This is my happy dance. Oh, Annissa has a question. Are there any bookstores with signed copies, Miss Mary? Give us that lead.
So Anderson's Bookshop in Naperville, Illinois. I was just there yesterday, signed a bunch. I'm sure that they have some still. If they don't, I am going to Lake Forest Bookstore tomorrow early to sign books, and both of these stores ship. So wherever you are, they both ship. So if Anderson's happens to be out, you could always call Lake Forest Bookstore in Lake Forest, Illinois, today, because I will be there tomorrow, so I could sign books.
Okay, perfect. So Naperville Books is the name of it?
Anderson's Bookshop in Naperville, Illinois.
Okay, perfect. I am going to drop that right in the comments. I just went and looked it up. So I'm going to drop that in the comments. So Anderson's Bookshop, and we love supporting independent bookstores. So thank you. So andersonsbookshop.com. And what is the second one? Lake Forest?
Yep, Lake Forest Bookstore in Lake Forest, Illinois.
Okay, perfect. And I'm going to put that in the comments as well, just so that, because I mean, why do we love signed books, you guys? I don't know, but I love it. So this is great to know. And so I'm dropping this in the comments, everybody. So get your books. And if you're not a signed book lover, no worries. But you still want to support indies. You can buy from these two fantastic bookstores. I dropped the link in the comments, or from bookshop.org. So grab your copy today, vote with your wallet, get yourself a good read for the weekend. Mary, thank you so much. Anissa saying thank you. Thank you so much. Patricia saying this was a delight. Thank you so much, Mary and Sarah. Thank you both. Thank you all for joining us. Everybody, local woman missing your must read this week. Thank you so much for joining us. And I will see you at 4 p.m. with Laura Bazelon. Everybody have a great day.
Thank you so much.